So the title of the next paper is This Proximity to Virtual Humans Affected by Photorealism. The presentation will be given by Katja. Katja. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, my name is Katja Zibrek, and I'm a postdoctoral researcher in a similar group to Larry before. Me and Rachel were looking at the effect of photorealism when we perceive characters in virtual reality. So we wanted to see how people react to photorealism. Why is this a question even? Basically, we've seen some incredible performance from engines such as Unreal Engine for this year at Zibrek and GTC, and we can create highly photorealistic environments in real time. And this actually is possible. You've seen great demos this whole week with Vicon, who are showing that you can actually animate a character in real time. And this is also possible to do with highly realistic characters as well. But we're interested in, of course, the perception of these characters. So, does it make any difference to have a photorealistic character as opposed to having a more stylized, more simple character? And would we fall into uncanny valley, and what kind of effect would that have? So we asked ourselves three questions. If we have a photorealistic character, would the presence with this character and the environment, which has to match the character realism to avoid mismatches, would it increase the immersion? So would we have a deeper sense of the characters actually present with us in space, and would we have a higher sense that we're in an actual real place? The second question we wanted to see is if the emotional response to a virtual character that looks realistic will be more, let's say, more predictable. So if we create a situation where we want the person to empathize with the character, would realism make this empathy more reliable? So we get a higher level of empathy for this person. And the third question is more related to behavior. So we wanted to see if people would behave in the same way they would if they were interacting with a real human being. And putting people in virtual reality gives this ability to test this behavior. So we can actually see if people will behave around the character the same way they do with real people. So proximity is one of those measures where we basically can see that if we perceive the character to be more present or more alive, we will keep further distance from the character. So we use this method to evaluate the perception of realistic characters. So a bit of a spoiler, we already made a huge study on this and we presented it 2 months ago at Symposium on Applied Perception. We conducted a large-scale experiment with a large sample, 622 people. They all loved the experience. They were in virtual reality, they were communicating with the character and all. And we designed a character that was expressing emotions. And we asked the same 3 questions. And it turned out that the realistic style did improve the sense that we were in actual space, but it didn't really increase the social presence. So people didn't feel that the character was more alive just because it was photorealistic. Empathetic concern was actually decreased for the realistic character. This could be associated with the uncanny valley effect, or something else. And the reported proximity, we couldn't really test proximity as a behavioral measure. We just asked people, oh, do you feel comfortable with standing so close to this character? And it wasn't affected by realism either. It was more of a behavioral, so depending on how character was acting, it was more related to that. But for this current study, we wanted to have a more controlled environment in a laboratory. We wanted to add embodiment. So we wanted to have the person wearing a full body motion capture suit and being trapped in real time so they can see their own hands and they can interact with the character in a more reliable way. So we wanted to see if that would make any improvements to the experiment. So we used, again, making a lot of advertisement here for Vicon. We used the Vicon showing the setup for the animation of the character. We captured one actor who was portraying a situation where she was explaining regrets about causing an accident, so a very serious situation. And we captured her face and her body motion. And we used environment which is freely available in Unreal Engine, so the realistic rendering scene, which kind of imitates the appearance of meant to V-Ray or V-Ray rendering engines. And we used a virtual character that we could get our hands on, which was the most photorealistic character that was in the marketplace in UE4. So this is the parallel face character that was also made with the actual scans of an actor, and it's equipped with full body and facial ray. And we created 2 render styles. So the first render style was unchanged. It was the way that the Unreal Engine designed it first. And we basically, what we did to create the second one is we just removed all the fancy lighting effects, the material functions. So things like circular scattering or the kind of pupil dilation in the eyes. We removed all those effects to create a kind of a cartoony style. Basically, what we were left at the end was just sort of like color information, and the mesh we kept the same. But all the other texture maps were removed. Save for the skin of the character, we couldn't do that without causing issues, so we had to retain some texture information for the skin. And for the embodiment, the participant was wearing a full body motion capture suit. It was tracked in real time, like you saw over there. We didn't have any fancy characters or badges or anything like that. We had just like a simple character template. So that's the participant, and the participant is observing the character in the scene. And the character has simple eye gaze also applied, so the character was following the person around when they were moving. So the experiment design, we basically had a training room first, where the people kind of trained on the task that they had to perform. So this is a participant trying to get a controller that was on the chair. And they had to avoid a virtual pillar to get around it. And in the second condition, instead of the pillar, they had a character. So the character was portraying that animation that I've explained before, so deeply sad animation, deeply sad emotional reaction. And people had to do the same. They had to kind of retrieve the controller, which was behind her, so they had to avoid the character to get to the controller. And the controller was used to then answer questions about the character and their experience. So then we basically did the whole thing again. So all the participants saw the next render style. And the render styles were, of course, randomized in order. So some people saw realistic style first, some people saw the simple style first. And they repeated everything again. So this is an example in a cartoon style. So this is the participant walking around the character and trying to retrieve the controller. So the controller was actually used to answer questions on the virtual television. So we wanted to keep the environment and the task as natural as possible. So they were turning on the television with the controller, and they were answering questions that basically had to do with empathetic concern, 3 questions about embodiment, if they felt that their body was their own. Place illusion, which was basically just a question, do they have the sensation that they're in an actual space? And social presence, which was based on Baynes and studies on social presence, so 5-item questionnaire. And we had 19 participants that were balanced in gender and in the order they viewed the conditions. And these are the results. So basically, we did find that the place illusion and social presence were both increased with photorealism. So we didn't get any negative effect of realism. We saw that realistic style was actually preferred to the simple one. And there was no change in terms of embodiment, so it didn't matter if their own body was rendered realistically or not. Then in terms of empathetic response, we didn't get any indication that a realistic style would raise more empathy. But then we looked under the conditions, so which style they saw first. If they saw the simple style first, they would rate the second one as equally, they were equally concerned for the second character as well. However, if they saw the realistic first, they probably cognitively associated, related back to what they were already seeing, and they lowered their reported concern for the second character. So whether this really affects, so if realism really affects concern is not really certain, it seems to be a cognitive evaluation of what they've seen. And last but not least, we were interested in proximity. So these are just kind of examples of 9 people each, different color as a different participant, moving around the character. And basically the first scene, the realistic one, you can see there's a lot more activity going on while people are trying to look out of the window. They wanted to see what the table is like. So the realistic condition had a lot more moving around. People spent more time in virtual reality. The simple one, they were just kind of oriented on the task. They got the controller, got back, and answered questions. But there was no difference in the way they approached the character. So we didn't get any difference in how close or how comfortable they were at passing the character. So we can say that actually proximity, the behavior wasn't different depending on the render style. So basically, we can say that we did find some indication that play solution, so in general engagement, is higher in the realistic condition. Now, I would like to point out as well that the social presence was still relatively low, so it was around average. So it's basically we have to pay attention to the behavior of the character as well. We need to use more scenarios to evaluate what is really going on. So we would like to increase the social presence in our future studies. We got this, the concern is higher for the realistic character, but only by cognitive comparison, so we still didn't really get what we intended to get, an actual emotional response, which would be different according to the character realism. And also previous experiments showed that actually the empathy is still higher for the stylized character. So we need to do more experiments on that to see what is happening to the emotional response. Is it really the uncanny valley, or is it something else? And also, photorealism, we didn't find the behavior measure to be reflective of the different conditions. Maybe that is the specifics of the proximity task, we don't know. Maybe a different kind of task, a more controlled way, where we would guide participants. So we were kind of leaving participants to wander around and do whatever they wanted to, because we wanted them to have a natural experience in the living room. But if we were controlling them a little bit more and kind of tying them when they have to start walking and how to come back, maybe we would get a better measure of proximity. So the future, yes, we know we need different models, we need more people, larger sample. Also longer scenarios that would induce empathy a bit more reliably, I suppose. And why is this important? We're seeing some great results from Oculus that are building highly realistic representations of you, basically. And you'll be able to use your own avatar to communicate with someone in virtual reality. They're already able to kind of reliably detect also the upper part of the animation of the face, even if it's obstructed with HUD. So we're getting there. We're creating photorealistic characters. And it's important to know if this is important for communication of serious situations, in which situations we should use photorealistic characters as opposed to more stylized ones. So definitely some more research to do there. And yeah, thank you for your attention, and I'll take some questions.
So this is more of an observation than a question, but I've worked on a number of projects for Oculus. These are sort of the demo content that comes along with the various hardware, and so it's a lot has been about engaging with virtual characters in virtual spaces. And one of the things that we found was that in the demos we've done, where we were engaging with like virtual sort of creatures and pets. People were very quick to approach and get very close to them. When we have, and this was really apparent in the piece we did, it's called First Steps. It's one of the Oculus Quest demos where you're dancing with the robot. And the robot has very long arms. And the reason for that is because when people first did the thing, because they're engaging with kind of a human level interaction, they didn't want to get too close. Like they would stand really far away as they held the hands of this robot. And so it seemed to be the more you were engaging with characters and like a human level interaction versus a human sort of creature interaction, the more proximity became a factor, even when the characters weren't photorealistic.
Yeah, definitely, and I think this is what we're showing as well. It's more about the behavior that has to be an interaction that has to be realistic. However, it's also important to we also need to pay attention to photorealism, because I think Oculus had a good example of it going very wrong when they were reporting, I think, from a live hurricane disaster, and the characters were rendered in a cartoony way, and people were like, "This is not right. This is a serious situation. You should be using cartoon characters." And we're interested in these kind of interactive effects. So how to balance these things, how to balance behavior and appearance to get the best response possible. Yeah. Thank you.
I was just wondering, there's something I didn't quite understand. The virtual character, its animation, was it pre-recorded or was it beta?
Yeah, it was pre-recorded. The only real-time information was coming from the participants that were tracked, but the actual animation was pre-recorded. Yeah.
So do you think that if it was real-time interaction, like with your actor in the same volume, the engagement would have been better?
There will be a difference, yeah, because I think there was a study that on this they tried different things. So one where the actor was present, one where the actor was present but in a different room, and then when the actor was just an agent, so pre-recorded, and all three conditions were different then. So, but the thing is, we wanted to specifically target agents that are kind of not in the room, let's say, to get the feeling, if people would get this feeling that there's actually something there. And the interesting thing is we never told anyone that they have to avoid the character to get the tracker. They could walk through them, but nobody did. Not even one person decided to go through them. They just avoided them naturally. So it's kind of an interesting thing as well.
Thanks. So have you compared, two questions basically, have you compared your results with the training session with the poll kind of as a baseline, and have you analyzed the upper body gaze direction towards the character? Because at least in one of the videos it appears that the virtual character that is realistically rendered was more kind of looked at while going past it.
Yeah, so basically the first question, yes we did. So this is something that we didn't really understand as well, because the distance from the pillar, which was just static, to the animated character was the same. So there was no difference in how people avoided the pillar and the character. So we kind of assumed that the presence with the character was not that great. The other thing, yeah, we basically, our proximity measure was kind of, was a bit constrained. So in a way, we consider different types of proximity as well. So it is debatable, what really. Sorry, the second question was?
Whether you looked at the head orientation and gaze.
Oh yeah. So yes, we basically we wanted to do analysis of that. So torque, the amount of time they looked at the character. What we noticed just by observation is that people have their own style. So it's basically, it doesn't really depend on the condition, it depends on the person, how they react to the character. So definitely something we'll need to look into more in the future, but for now we realize that it's really person to person, not condition to condition. Yeah. But yeah, great question.
So let's thank the speaker again.